And wait, okay, now we're live. So,
Alright.
hello. Oop,
Hi, what's up? Hello. It's Lit Life with Miranda Reeds and
Tucker.
Tucker.
Hello.
I
I'm
almost
just
said
going like,
Tucker Reeds.
I mean, our names are very similar, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I name everything my last name. I've got Squamish Reeds, Agatha Reeds, Future Snake Reeds.
Yeah.
Alright, so today we have a live stream talking about our reactions to the Plot Thickens
August? It's
August
August,
pick.
yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of a schedule issue there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is our Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer reaction video. And I've got the little dog who just thinks it's attention time right now.
Yeah, Squamish. I guess we should start with ratings. I think I was either 4.5 or 5. I did really enjoy it, which was surprising because I wasn't expecting to enjoy it that much.
Like everyone like rags on Stephenie Meyer, but like girl can write. She can write good.
She can, yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, yeah, he really did break his squeaker.
Oh.
Yeah. When we adopted him, he came with this ball from the shelter. Oh gosh, it's so slimy right now. And we went to Walmart and we bought 5 other identical balls to it. So, because like he just loved it so much. And he only plays with this one. It has a slightly like, it's slightly bouncier, more worn down. We broke the squeaker today.
Oh, poor Squamish.
Oh, buddy. Okay, you can have it back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, so rating Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. I said 5 stars. It is somewhat influenced by the fact that I've literally been waiting for this book for a decade now. And I just wanted it so bad, and I was just so happy to finally have it.
I like, because it was, Midnight Sun was the one that got leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like skimming the leaked version, and I don't really remember what I thought about it. But I was expecting, because I never really liked Edward or Bella. I liked the fantasy, and I liked the overall like world building kind of in the plot. But Bella and Edward both annoyed me. But in this book, I felt like they were almost different characters, so I liked them a lot more.
It's interesting how just like the perspective could change that. I remember when I first saw Midnight Sun, like I was freaking out. That was like hardcore Twilight phase Miranda. And it was like, oh my God, she's writing an Edward book. And I was just like freaking out constantly. And then it just never got published. And like I just slowly like slipped into like the depths of despair. Okay, bug, stop dropping on me. But anyway, with this one, it definitely felt a little bit like the original Midnight Sun, but significantly more polished, which makes a lot of sense because she's had, like 10 years to be
12
working
years,
on it.
Yeah. This is running around.
He just likes to grab the ball, but then he drops it on me. So he wants me to play with him.
Yeah.
But when I grab it, he's like, wait a minute, Mom, I want the ball again.
Luna's like that, except she'll be like, oh, I want you to play with me, and I want you to throw this toy, but I'm not going to let go of it. And
no take, only throw. Yeah. So, you said you were surprised that you liked it.
I wasn't expecting to overall despise it, although that would have been entertaining. I was more like expecting it to be mildly annoying, if not kind of fascinating. And I was annoyed by Edward at first. Like the first couple, I would say the first eighth of the book, I was like, oh my gosh, he's just as annoying as I remember him. But then as once he met Bella, and once he kind of described how frustrating and hard it was to resist her and yet being in love with her, I was like, I kind of have a little more empathy from his perspective.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Like, one of the things that always just like, when I was reading it the first time through, I was like, oh, it's so romantic. Rereading it now, I'm like, oh, that's a big age gap. Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
But reading it from Edward's perspective really kind of puts you into the mindset that yeah, he's really, really smart, but he's still like mentally pretty much 17, like not much older
Mm-hmm.
than that. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that kind of like closed that plot hole. I don't know if it's really a plot hole, like
Mm-hmm.
gap, like
Yeah.
realism,
Mm-hmm.
creepiness factor,
Yeah,
etc.
I don't. Yeah, I can't because it's all a very at this point since it's been over a month since I read it. It's kind of vague, but I feel like I feel like she kind of justified the whole him watching her while she slept, and I feel like I didn't mind the justification. I don't really remember what the justification was though.
It was just like him realizing how, how fragile she is and like kind of like freaking out over that. So it was
Mm-hmm.
never one of those like, my girlfriend's sleeping. It was more
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my god, what if she rolls over and dies?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
she's always enjoying herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I did like that she. Yeah, because she did her best to kind of make him seem less creepy in this book. I feel like because I mean, after all, she had so many years of people just talking about how creepy and stalkery Edward
Backlash.
was. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like she did. I think she did a pretty good job without actually, completely changing the story because she couldn't do that. Yeah, it was really good though.
I definitely agree about that. So, one thing I absolutely loved from this book was figuring out how Angela and, oh, what's his face?
Is it
Not
Ben? Tom?
Angela and Ben, there we go, how they got together. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like Edward kind of go like making them jealous. And I was like, oh, that's how it happened. It made me really
Mm-hmm.
happy inside. It was really, really cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was a very long book though. It was what, 25 hours of audio, I think.
Yeah, it was a long audio. And I powered through that audio in one day because I wanted to do a reading vlog of it, which you
Hmm.
didn't watch, right?
I did. I watched it, but I skipped the part where no, I think I told you this. I skipped the part.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
skipped the part where you gave your final thoughts.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like I powered through that in one day, but it was a difficult thing to get through, even on 3x speed. It was a
Mhm.
lot.
It
Yeah.
was a behemoth. I actually was in Target the other day and I saw it, and it's like 2.5 inches thick. It's really big.
I bought a copy and it's signed, and
Mhm.
I'm really annoyed that like all of my other original Twilights, it's like an inch taller than them and way thicker, and I'm like,
Mhm.
it doesn't match on the shelf anymore, and
Yeah,
I'm
all I feel like
so tempted to buy
excluding
another one.
yeah, excluding Twilight and New Moon, all of her books are like an inch plus thick, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I have the whole Twilight saga and The Host and The Chemist. And The Host and The Chemist are in hardcover, and so is Breaking
Yeah.
Dawn. So those take up so much space on my shelf. They're basically like an entire shelf. They're just so
I
ridiculously big.
mean, it's a good problem to have, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Stephen King is like that. His books are so big.
Oh, I finally read The Shining, but I'm not going to tell
Oh
you
yeah.
about that one yet
Not
because,
yes. Not
yeah,
yet.
not yet. But
Um,
I'll tell you my verdict on that later.
yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I said I liked Bella a bit more from Edward's perspective, but I think that's because he kind of idealized her a little bit, I felt like. Um, a little bit, but I also feel like she definitely was different than she was in Twilight, because in Twilight she was really annoying to me.
Maybe it's just because you weren't in her head anymore. Less that you hear less from her, so she
That's true.
sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, what would you think of her redoing New Moon or the rest of the series from Edward's perspective?
I wouldn't mind it, but I would love to see New Moon from Jacob's perspective. That would be so much better than Edward's perspective, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, because like I would love to see what he's like feeling and thinking as he's going through the change of becoming a werewolf. Like that's
Oh, the
pretty like
werewolf.
mm-hmm. Like, because
Yeah,
I mean, there's the whole scene where Bella meets him again, and he's so different, and I would love to see like what that was like from his perspective.
oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking like from Jacob's perspective, it would be just whiny, whiny. I love Bella. Why doesn't she love me? Thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that at, also because he has so many like gaps in New Moon where he's not there. I would love to see more details on like what's going on, or maybe she could do New Moon switching back and forth between Edward and Jacob. That would be really cool.
Oh, I think I would like that the best because I was always curious what Edward was up to. Because we
Mm-hmm.
did get that scene at the end of Midnight Sun where it was like how Edward was tracking the vampires, and that was a really intense scene. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved that. And it made
Mm-hmm.
me really curious how like all of his tracking and all of his work in New Moon, like what would that have been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be interesting to see both sides. That would be really cool.
But
Um,
I did read an article from, oh gosh, I don't remember where, but it was an interview with Stephenie about Midnight Sun, and she said that she doesn't think she'll revisit Edward's perspective
oh,
because it's
oh,
just so stressful to write it because he's constantly freaking out.
that does make sense. That does
And
make
I've
sense. Yeah.
heard through the rumor mill that they're thinking of doing a Renesmee Jacob one.
I don't like that.
I know,
I don't like
I
that.
know. But it is her. I think that's definitely her most controversial aspect of Twilight is,
Mhm.
putting an infant with a 16-year-old who looks like he's 25.
Yeah, I guess it's so it's like it's because like when you think about it, if like well, let me think. Well, if like a 48-year-old marries, no, that's like if a four, I don't know. Basically, if
Like
you're
someone who's 60 marries someone who's 40. It's not that big
yeah,
of a difference.
oh,
Is what
but
you're
like
going
then when
for?
you think about the fact that the younger person was 1 when the older person was 19, then it's creepy. But when they're older, I've heard there's the whole I think it's like half your age plus 7 is a good thing for romantic relationships, like a good frame or estimation. I think that was it.
I think there's a ton of rules.
Yeah, there are different
Just the
ones.
older you get, the bigger the gap can be without it being creepy.
And I think that was potentially her idea is like, oh, when they're older, it won't be as creepy. Even though, in my opinion, like when she's actually old enough to be what married and girlfriend, he'll be in his like 30s, right?
Right, but they're both immortal, so eventually it's not going to make a
Wait,
difference.
Jacob is immortal?
So long as as long as he doesn't give up shifting, he's
Mm-hmm.
immortal. If he stops shifting for a long period of time, he'll start aging again.
Oh, I
I
didn't know
haven't
that.
touched this book series in like 2 or 3 years right now.
Mm-hmm.
Still got it. Like from my teenage
Mm-hmm.
years, just constantly rereading it. I've got the
Yeah.
lore up here. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I kind of get what she was going for. Like, if you have a soulmate, and
Mm-hmm.
the concept is like, if you see your soulmate, you recognize them as your soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go like, oh wait, actually, I'm not going to recognize them until they reach that 17, 18 mark. You're going to recognize them earlier. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what Stephenie was going for with this one. And she does
Mm-hmm.
give us Jacob's perspective, so it's never anything creepy. It's just that mental hurdle you get.
Mm-hmm.
To me
Yeah.
personally, I feel like it could work as a Renesmee Jacob one, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
like she's gonna have to have Jacob like leave, let
Yeah.
Renesmee grow up on her own,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can be reintroduced to each other and
Mm-hmm.
see if they fall in love.
Yeah, I would love to see the whole because I've seen this in a show and actually 2 shows, The Good Place and Lucifer, where it goes into the whole idea of soulmates. I know, but it goes into the idea of soulmates and like our like our relationships, not in the real world, but in these fantasy worlds, are they predestined? And like, because in Lucifer, well, I won't spoil Lucifer, but in The Good Place, basically, Eleanor and Chidi from episode 1 are like they're told that they're soulmates, and later, and it's kind of like if you're told someone is your soulmate, is it still up to you, or is it your choice? Like, are you able to say, no, I don't want to be with that person, or is it going to happen anyway? Like, even though they end up getting together in the end, it's like the whole idea of, was that their choice? There's a whole episode on free will. It's really interesting anyway.
It's always something that really bugged me in books is when people are like, oh, they're soulmates, and then like they instantly become super lovey-dovey. And I'm just kind of like, I want that will they, won't they of the relationship. Oh, you can't see him, but he's got like the dumbest look on his face. I don't know if I can show you.
Oh, Squamish. He's so tiny.
He is. He's an itty bitty boy. But yeah, it's like I was doing a beta read for an author the other day, and she did introduce the whole soulmates thing, and it just really bothered me because I'm like, okay, you have a great relationship starting here, soulmates, and now they're together, and I just miss that whole relationship where they build and they got that trust, those first moments.
I feel the same way. It happens in so many romances where it's just like they have their meet cute, their little meeting where they bump into each other, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with that person. I'm like, why? How? And that's why I wish more romances would, like, basically like a slow burn romance. Kind of, I think, I don't know because I've ever been in a romantic relationship, but I assume with most romantic relationships, it's more of a slow build. Like, it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this person. It's kind of like tiny little events that happen, stuff like that.
That's it. Like, for me and mine, it was like 7 years before he proposed. Half of it was high school, other half was college, round one. And even then, I was just like, it was just a very comfortable, easy going love. Nothing like my books. But it was actually, I was just like, what do you mean all these romance books aren't real? But it ended up working out pretty well.
And I feel like because in romance books, everything is so potent and like love crazed.
Like, it's like 7 hours and they're like getting ready to get married. And I'm like, are you serious?
I know. And it just feels like if it gets that big that quickly, maybe that, like, you risk kind of almost peaking like at that point in a way.
Yeah, there's like the crescendo's already there, so then you're like, there's a reason why the big kiss happens at the end of the book most of the time, because you want to get that relationship established.
With more and more books or romance books, there's usually like I guess the formula for romance, I feel like, has changed over the years, where with the especially with like sex and kissing happening a lot earlier in books too.
Oh. Yeah, I remember reading some of my mom's like teenage books when she was a teenager. And I was like, Mom, these are the most boring books ever. They didn't even hold hands. They shared a look.
Yeah.
And I think for this one, Midnight Sun, it felt like it was a bit more of a build. Like, there was definitely that instant attraction, but with him trying to constantly like pull himself back, it didn't feel as like, because Bella, she's like, eye contact, I love him. And like, she doesn't admit it till a little bit later, but it's like you can tell instantly that she's like going to be in love with him. And he has that attraction, but he's at the same time, he's like, I don't want to kill her.
I think, yeah, and I think that's another reason I liked him more, is because I had more sympathy for him, because I was like, I felt for him because I could see that because he cared about her, he was avoiding her, and that was causing him pain, but it was pain he was doing because he loved her, and that made me have a lot more sympathy and like him more. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if they would ever do like a Wolfpack book. Because Sam and Emily, when she had the scars on her face because Sam like clawed her up when he transformed. I feel like that would be really interesting because they're all like, yeah, mom and dad and great grandpa say that we're werewolves, ha! And then like Sam's like, oh shit. I think that would be like really interesting because like they have like this almost feels like this fully established like mini world. Because when Bella like meets them, like there's all these dynamics. I feel like they're very like well figured out already.
You
I think
should
that would
read
be
some old
interesting.
werewolf romances. They're out there. There's like
So I
what's it
have read
called?
one, and it's Magic Bites series by Alona Andrews.
I haven't heard it. I
That
know
was,
Alona Andrews, but I
yeah.
don't. I feel like I've heard mixed things about her.
So I'm a little bit torn because I read the whole series when I
Mhm.
was end of high school, first couple of years of college. I read the whole thing through. And then when I
Mhm.
hit grad school, I decided to listen to one of them on audiobook. And I was like,
Mhm.
this isn't like I remember. I think the voice was just really, really bad. And I was just
Mhm.
like, it kind of like ruined it for me because it just really like nasally and everything. But I
Mhm.
still have all of the books. And
Mhm.
it's a really cool concept where like, so the world has magic and technology.
Mhm.
And for a while there, everything was magic. But then
Mhm.
they essentially kind of like burned out the magic battery of the world and magic
Mhm.
just stopped working. So they went all the way to technology. And then there's a lot of technology and it was a kind of modern era. But
Mhm.
then they went too far tech and
Mhm.
magic came back. So now it's kind of like a
Interesting.
pendulum
Mhm.
shifting on and off every few days, whether magic is working or technology. And then you
Interesting.
follow a mercenary detective girl who has a really cool sword, and she has to figure out all kinds of different things happening in the city that's all
Mhm.
magic related. And like the books are kind of themed because like one time it's the Celtic gods acting up, the next time it's the shifter pack having issues. And
Mhm.
I remember, gosh, now I want to reread them.
Yeah.
I've got too many books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did just get a comment. Fifth Knowledge says, I think we need to remember that books are entertainment products, so they present an exaggerated sense of love and passion that doesn't really happen in real life. That's what attracts so many readers. I both agree and disagree. I do agree that it is very exaggerated, and I agree that that is sometimes made to attract readers, and I think it has its place. Because for a lot of people, books reading is escapism, and that's fine. I just wish that more people, especially younger readers or people who are single and are still impressionable, will read books and expect their romantic relationships to be like that. I remember when I
Mm,
started reading romance, I had like my therapist had to kind of talk me down. She's like, Tucker, that's not how it's gonna go. Just like don't expect your relationships to be like a rom com. So I think that it's fine that they're exaggerated and it's fine for people to read them, but I think we need to make sure that we're recognizing that they are exaggerated. Yeah, that's
yeah.
my 2 cents.
And I definitely think they have to be exaggerated because I mean, like in my life, no one's going to read like a 7-year book where they finally get
Yeah.
engaged at the end of the seventh year.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, there has to be some sort of balance because I've definitely read books within 24 hours. They went from like, "Hey, how are you doing?" to like, "I love you."
Hmm.
And I for those books, I'm like mentally, like as I'm reading, like the time frame, I'm just like adding hours and days to it. I'm like, okay, instead of one day, it is 1 month or something like that, so I can just like stomach it because it just annoys me so much when they just automatically have like this amazing relationship like they've been together for years.
Hmm.
That being said, there are some books where I'm like, yes,
Hmm.
yes, because like the characters, the chemistry is right, the timeline is perfect. They
Hmm.
have this great banter, and I love it.
Yeah. Have you read You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel?
No.
It is so good. Basically, it's about this girl and guy who are engaged, but they hate each other. They were like they'd been together and then they got engaged and then they just kind of drifted apart. And so they hate each other and they start pranking each other and annoying each other to try to get the other one to call off the engagement. And it is so good. It's so hilarious and romantic. And I felt like it was pretty realistic. I don't really know, but I it was very kind of raw and honest, and I appreciated it. It was really good.
Oh, I have to add that. I'm currently reading. Oh shoot, what was it called? I told you already though. Only
Did you?
Mostly Devastated.
Oh yes, that one.
Yeah,
I
I'm
read that
like
way back in
3
March.
hours in. The main
Hmm.
character is giving me Tucker vibes.
Yeah,
Just
I
from the
know.
way he over analyzes things.
Yeah,
I love it.
when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally me. Um,
It's not just me picking up on that.
Well, and even his first day of school, I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally almost exactly how I felt, except no one talked to me on my
Yeah,
first day of
because
school. No, it's okay. I was just like a little ball of anxiety. I didn't talk to anyone that first day.
okay. I guess it
Yeah.
was at least mutual. It's better than you trying to like introduce yourself and everyone just kind of like turns around or
Well, yeah,
something.
no one was like purposely ignoring me. People were really nice to me. But actually, we had to do these horrible icebreakers where I hate icebreakers. Where
As a camp
basically
counselor, I have done so many icebreakers with children.
I hate them. I hate them. They make me so
They
uncomfortable.
always hate them, but they always, by the end of the week, like the weeks we don't do them, kids don't know anybody. The weeks we do them, it's a hate bonding thing. Like, oh, this is so stupid, but hey,
Hmm.
my name is sort of a
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. We did one. Basically, it was like bingo. Like find someone who did this or find someone who
Oh,
was like
classic,
this.
classic, yeah.
Yeah, but I hated it because I was like, I don't want anyone to talk to me, and I don't want to talk to anyone. So, and I didn't want to volunteer information about myself to these total strangers. It was very not
Mm-hmm.
fun. But it was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
and then with Only Mostly Devastated, there was this one scene in the beginning where it was just like, gosh, I just gotta like have my meet cute and get my boyfriend, and then I'm set. And I'm like, that's
hmm Yes, it is me. I mean, for the first, I would say the first semester of school, I just would walk through the hallways talking to no one, and I was like, I basically just became a YA character in my head. I just had these own little stories going on, and I blocked everyone
mm,
out. Yeah,
oh,
yeah. It
they're
was okay
there.
though. Once I started getting to know people and I had people to talk it to in between classes, I stopped doing that. But while I didn't know people, I did that.
Yeah, my
Mhm.
boyfriend. I guess he wasn't my boyfriend yet, but like my now husband, like he
Mhm.
was very very quiet in high school, and like I would essentially like force him to talk to me every
Mhm.
single art class
Mhm.
until like he kind of gave up and expected it.
Mhm.
And then I think I backed him into a corner into admitting like who he liked. Not like
Mhm.
physically like push him in the corner, but
Mhm.
I made him
Mhm. Yeah.
admit it, and he admitted it. He's like, "Oh, I guess I like you," and I'm like,
Oh.
he's like, "I don't know what to do now." I'm like, "This is where you ask me out," and then he
Mhm.
did, and it
I
worked.
love that. That is such a great story.
100% success rate with
Mhm.
one person.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Let's see. I didn't really, I kind of just, I met my first two friends in gym class. It was kind of a mutual bonding over how much we hated gym class. Basically,
Oh,
I just kind of, I think what it started where I was put on a team with them and it kind of just went from there. Yeah, it
mm-hmm.
was, and then one girl and I specifically, we would just walk around the gym because we didn't like to do anything. We would just walk
Right.
in circles and talk. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But that was school. It was interesting.
Yeah, now you can't do that this year, can you?
No, although our state, it's weird because like the governor said, okay, schools, you guys can open now, but it's up to the counties if they want to open. Our county is currently still digital, but there are counties in Maryland that have opened. It's really weird.
It's just, I mean, like a personal experience from my college campus. Not a good
I
And these
know.
are supposed to be like college students, and like everyone who came back to campus, they were told exactly what to do and
Mm-hmm,
what they needed to do to keep everyone safe. And
mm-hmm,
if you drive downtown, you see like, oh wow, okay, everyone's having a party. That's
mm-hmm,
great.
mm-hmm,
And like we had like a 20% infection or like present cases in a single dorm. So then
mm-hmm. Oh,
they ended up
yikes.
shutting down the entire dorm in
Oh, that's not
quarantine.
good.
But then they told the students like a few hours before, like, oh, you're gonna be quarantined. So then they all left to go get groceries, which they're in a dorm,
Oh,
and I get it. But also I'm
mhm.
like, oh my gosh, this is
They
like
should have
one of
done
my
instant
YA
Instacart.
dystopian novels right here.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's getting. I think the reason he did it is why the reason he okayed it was it was like it got down to like a 3% positivity rate for tests, so he felt comfortable doing it. I haven't actually heard any bad news or anything. I don't think it's Maryland has spiked yet in coronavirus cases, so I don't know. I
Yeah.
do know a bookstagrammer. I think she lives in Missouri, maybe,
Oh
and
yeah.
her kids went back to school in real life, and I don't think they were wearing masks. And then a girl got COVID, and they all had to quarantine. So I was like, I was like, I feel bad for you, but I'm also like not quite surprised that that happened, especially without masks.
Well, it depends on the age, because like you have like the preschoolers. It's gonna be really difficult to get any kid to wear a mask.
Yeah, and that's well, I mean, in stores and stuff, I just see the people or in anyone over the age of 2 or 5 or whatever must wear a
Mm,
mask. So I don't think they even really try with the younger kids.
that's true. Oh man, I wonder how many YA books are frantically being written right now about
Mm-hmm.
like pandemics and like
Mm-hmm.
what to do.
I saw one on NetGalley. I don't remember what it was
Already?
called. Uh-huh.
Oh man, there's like there's some authors who have already pre-written this and like all of their books are being picked up right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I've seen a couple. I've seen because I on Edelweiss. I look at. I don't know if it's Edelweiss or Edelweiss because I've heard both pronunciations. I have no
I don't
clue.
know.
And
I
anyway, on that
think
site,
it might be Edelweiss because I remember Girl Scouts we had a song called Edelweiss.
yeah,
That's
I think
spelled the
it's
same.
that. Anyway, on Edelweiss, there are. I was looking through titles, and I've seen. I think I've seen at this point like 3 or 4 titles about coronavirus, but they've all been canceled. And I think it's because it's such a rapidly evolving situation when you think about it. Like all the ones that have been canceled have been like, here's your guide to COVID or here's the history of
Oh.
COVID. I'm like, don't write that while we're in the middle of it because things are changing so quickly.
Yeah, I was
Like
thinking like they were like themed books and they were getting canceled.
no, not
It was like a
it's
how-to thing.
like nonfiction, yeah. And I was like,
Mm,
I'm not surprised because like you like the minute a publisher's book about or a book is published about COVID, it becomes outdated so quickly. So
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't it would probably wouldn't be a good idea to write that. Fiction though,
Yeah,
I think fiction is okay.
definitely, definitely. Oh my gosh. It'll be interesting to see what happens book worldwide and
Mm-hmm.
everything. I miss getting
Yeah,
all of the physical copies.
me too.
I was doing color coordinated shelves with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that slightly also influenced sometimes which books I would accept. Because I'm like, I really need more red books. And I would
Mm-hmm.
be like, oh, hey, this one has a red cover. I'll see what it's
Mm-hmm.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss them too. Most publishers have opened back up, not offices, but have sent physical copies. Simon and Schuster sends physical copies.
Yeah.
Chet, HarperCollins.
I'm getting some of them back.
Mm-hmm.
But there were
Oh,
some books that I really wanted
me
physicals, and
too.
I just
Berkeley, almost all of Penguin has not opened up yet, and that makes
yeah.
me so sad because I was so looking forward to the Berkeley books.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
I love the Berkeley books. Like,
I
it
know.
could be partly just because like they just send me a ton of them, so I have
Mm-hmm.
more experience reading them.
Mm-hmm.
But I really adore. I just finished one called The Secret French Recipes of Sophie. French last name that begins with a V.
Uh-huh.
Super cute. Super cute. I absolutely loved it.
Sorry, talking to
Yeah.
family.
The one thing that killed me though is for that recipe book, they should be like, oh, well, I put this and I put that and I put the other thing, and I'm like, I have no concept what any of this tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said lobster, and I'm like, okay, I know something,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's just made me want to make fancy food and go out to dinner.
Did you read Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune? I think that's what
Mm-mm.
it's called. I didn't like it. It was so to me it was so ridiculous. And basically it's about Natalie and she finds her grandmother's cookbook. It was so annoying because number one, Natalie was infuriating and stupid. Um I loved the author is so amazing at writing. She literally did the best at describing food. It literally made me hungry. She did such a good job. But the actual fiction was immensely frustrating because the main character was so hard to deal with. She was really annoying. Like, and also it was so unclear if there was magic in the book or not, because it felt like they were trying to be like, oh, these recipes are magic, but they never said if they were magic or not. But it was so unclear, which was annoying. But anyway, basically, Natalie cooks a recipe and it messes with people around her. She's like, shoot, I shouldn't cook any of these recipes anymore. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm not going to do that again. And then to fix it, she cooks another recipe. I was like, oh my goodness, you're so stupid.
I love the concept of that. That sounds like it could be like a really great book.
It is.
But I can see the triples from that as well.
It is. If you have Amazon Prime, there's a TV show with the same concept. It's called Just Add Magic, and it is 10 times better. It is such a good show.
I am currently working my way through RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm obsessed, and that's all I've been watching as in cooking and stuff like the last 2 months, 3 months.
I mostly just rewatch Miraculous. I've told you about Miraculous, right?
You have. Where do you watch it on?
Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. The sad thing is they're coming out with a 4th and 5th season. Don't really know when. No, it's sad because it's not going to be on Netflix.
Oh,
it's only going to be
on Netflix. Will get the rights.
Maybe, but I think it's going to be on Disney Plus, which makes me so sad because I don't hate Disney. Their movies are good, but as a company, as a corporation, I hate Disney.
It does have some questionable moments.
Yeah, they're like a semi-soulless corporation.
But makes princess movies.
That's true. That's true. But someone is going to be, because there's basically Miraculous takes place in Paris, and in September 25th they're doing a special where it's going to take place in New York, and I think it's only going to be on Disney, so I won't be able to watch it, but someone else is going to be live streaming it as it happens. I was like, well, since I'm not live streaming it, technically means I'm not pirating, because I'm just watching a live stream. So I'm going to watch.
If you want to, I can borrow you my Disney Plus for like that. I don't mind.
I
had a few friends on there whose families got it, and now I have spaces open on my Disney Plus.
Yeah. I might take you up on that. My dad really wants to get it. It's just my mom doesn't want to get it. So if my dad is unable to break my mom, then I might take you up on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, so side note. Currently reading Thorn.
That looks familiar. Who's it by?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Intizar Karani?
I don't recognize that author name. The cover looks very YA heavy fantasy though.
Have you ever read like one of the Goose Girl fairy tales?
No, that's by Shannon Hale, right?
It's originally like a Grimm's fairy tale, and it's been redone and redone.
Mm-hmm.
I love that tale, and I'm currently reading her version of it, or this version of it.
Interesting.
And it is so good. It makes me like, it's 500 pages, but it is killing it for me.
I cannot do heavy fantasy. I just get so bored so quickly.
It's definitely not heavy. Oh, here's the author.
Gorgeous
writer. Yeah. It's not heavy fantasy. It's like fairy tale. Girl, like the original tale, Ace, girl who hates a princess, and the princess, the girl who hates a princess gets like a curse put on the princess, and they have to switch lives. The princess now lives as a goose girl in like really low station, and she's constantly being rubbed in the face by the new princess.
So kind of like Princess Popper a little bit.
A little bit, but like with evil sorceresses and stuff. And there's definitely some magical elements. The prince obviously ends up figuring out who the real one is because this tale has been told a million times. But I'm absolutely loving the direction it's taking. It is going really, really well.
Someone asked, what is heavy fantasy? I don't I don't really have a specific definition. I would just say
Would
like,
that be where you have to like really pay attention? Is kind of like my
well,
definition.
well, yes, I guess I would just say like normal fantasy, I guess would be like normal-ish world with fantastic magical elements, whereas heavy fantasy is like pure, thick fantasy. Like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that's heavy fantasy. Basically, none of our actual world is in that
Overlaps with
fantasy.
this
Like it's a
world.
completely different world. Whereas
Yeah.
with like normal or light fantasy or whatever, like there would be a bit of our world or whatever
Yeah,
stuff like.
like my Magic Bite series I was talking about, half
Mhm.
techno world, half magic world. That would be
That
kind of like a middle-ish like
yeah, yeah,
fantasy.
yeah. Heavy fantasy when it has a lot of terms and definitions. If it's like what's it called?
It
That
I would
Berkeley book we read. Stealing Thunder, right? Was that what it was
that
called?
one
That was
that was a little bit of an uphill climb to get into. It
that
ended
was
up being
so
pretty good.
painful. I did
Well,
not like
elements
it.
of it was pretty good, but it was an uphill battle to get into that one.
That was that was like because I have trouble paying attention to books, especially when I'm reading them physically. And it was so painful to read. I was like, I felt like I was reading another language. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that kind of I've noticed that happening. Like Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City book. I don't think you've read that one.
No, I haven't read any
The
of her books.
first 100 pages, like I was so lost. It had like a technology world. It had vampires, fairies, all kinds of creatures. It was a rough one to get into. It was only
Mm-hmm.
around page 300 where I was like, ooh, this is good. And
Mm-hmm.
with a 700-page book,
Yeah, it's
well,
a big
hello
one.
there, Pikachu.
Oh,
You couldn't see it, but like his teeth are like, Arr.
yeah, I saw him standing on your shoulders.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh yeah, a good example of like fantasy or normal fantasy or whatever would be Harry Potter, because like there's fantasy and there's oh yes, Fuzzy Dan said so very dense world building. Then yes, when it's really
I
really
would say that's a hallmark of it, yeah.
yeah, but Harry Potter is fantasy and like not heavy fantasy because like there's London, there's our real world, real technology, real terms, stuff like that, but there's a magical element. Oh, speaking of Harry Potter, so I don't know, have you seen? I think I sent you my review of the Ichabod, right? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't
You
know.
got to read the Echabog?
No, I didn't read it. I just wrote a review.
Oh, you wrote the review. I saw that, yeah.
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 So I have gotten so many comments on that review. I've
Hate
responded to all of
comments?
I've gotten a few. One person compared me to, I don't know if YouTube will suppress if I say his name, the bad guy who wanted to kill all the Jews.
I don't think they would, but like we can
You
just
never,
call him that.
yeah, yeah, him, the very bad man.
It sounds like a typical like angry negative comment.
Well,
There.
I mean, they were, because in my review, I was talking about how J.K. Rowling has a lot of very transphobic views and opinions and how she kind of just, number one, tweets about them and kind of abuses her platform to spread that. But also another reason I said I don't recommend like take this book with a grain of salt and caution is because I said, especially for younger impressionable readers, not even consciously, those negative views can slip into books, kind of subconsciously, if that makes sense.
Which is interesting because I feel like Harry Potter, none of the characters would have acted like JK is acting. And
Definitely not.
that's
I said it was ironic because like Hermione especially, she would be like so
so
upset.
she would be mad. Yeah, and then so you and I actually had quite a few talks about another book that I ended up reading, but I ended up not writing a review on because of the author's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know like how to treat Harry Potter now.
There,
I've been leaning towards like
I would
the
say,
characters in the book don't reflect what the author is saying. Like they aren't pushing that kind of message, and they're pushing actually an opposite message. And that's kind of how I am internalizing it. What are
here's what
your
I would
thoughts?
say, because it's very convoluted and there's a lot of nuance to it. It's not like a simple black and white answer. And there, I've seen even outside of the main, I guess, pure book community, I've seen other YouTubers and Instagram people. So many people talk about, well, what now? Like, do we boycott Harry Potter? And I've seen a couple people say, yes, completely boycott Harry Potter. I've seen a couple people say, no, it doesn't matter. There are a lot of differing opinions. I would say don't feel guilty for reading a book that you love because it is a really good series. I would just say, I guess,
say hello to Luna.
Yeah, I don't know what she's barking at. It's dark where I am. She's just, who knows? I would just say, I guess, keep in mind her opinions, and yeah, I don't really know. But I'll
it's
try
a
to
very
send you a video.
mixy situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll try
it's
to send
not.
you a video to watch, but it's very complicated. Luna, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I would say it is a very complicated situation. I'm not even entirely sure in like where I stand on like how far do you separate like someone's art from their person?
Yeah, exactly. Because some people, I've heard some people
like
say, "Oh,
have
Harry
done.
Potter is authorless," but
What does that mean?
like some people have said, "Oh, we're just going to say that Harry Potter wasn't written by anyone," which kind of symbolically say it wasn't written by anyone, even though it doesn't. Anyway, but another person, I think it was a trans bookstagrammer, said, here's why we can't ignore J.K. Rowling's actions. Here's why we have to say that, yes, J.K. Rowling did write Harry Potter. I'll try to send you a video and a couple posts I saw because it's a really complicated situation.
Yeah.
But I would say the TLDR is read Harry Potter. It is a good series, but just be careful. Keep in mind that because actually I've heard things because I've heard that there are racist themes. There are, I feel like I heard something about there being negative themes about HIV and AIDS in Harry Potter, but I'm not totally sure. Again, I'll try to find you.
Yeah, I'm currently mentally sorting through all of my Harry Potter knowledge.
Yeah, but overall, I would say it's a good series. I would say just
and there's definitely authors out there that have done things where I'm like, I'm not going to read your book because of the horrible things and like
AJ Finn. Do you know who AJ Finn is?
Oh, Woman in the Window guy.
He lied about having mental illness. He lied about having cancer.
Yeah, I found that out after I finished the book.
Yeah,
but
it's okay. So did I. And I would say in general, if you're going to read an author's book that you don't feel comfortable with their actions, number one, if you can, get it from a library, get it from like a Goodwill or a local bookstore.
I mean, I mean, other than these books behind me, I haven't really bought myself books. I just library or from the publishers at this point.
Same. Although literally just today I went to Goodwill because I'm cheap. And I got.
I mean, honestly, why not?
They have their books are so cheap. It's so nice. I got like what was it? 10, I think 8, 10. It was a 6. I don't know. It was like 6 books for $4. It was really.
Ooh, anything good?
I got Insomnia by Stephen King, and I'm gonna do a book haul video.
You and your Stephen King.
Yeah. I found a bunch of arcs, which was really cool. Now, here's the thing. Last time I went there, like a year ago, I found an arc, and I went to the person at the front desk. Was like, hey, because I have mixed feelings on selling arcs. I was like, hey, just want to let you know you're not technically supposed to sell these. And I was like thinking, oh, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to tell him you shouldn't sell these. You should donate them. But I bet as soon as I left, he just put it back on the shelf. So this time I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, because there were like 10 different arcs there. I was like, I'm not going to try to report these all. Just do what you want, sell them. I don't really care. So I found an arc of, hold on. Actually, I'm going to unplug my laptop and go grab them because they're in my room.
Didn't you say you had like that one neighbor who's also a book reviewer? Do you think that she just gives her arcs a good will? I keep saying every time I say good, I keep thinking Goodreads, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
She's a smaller bookstagrammer, and she actually doesn't. Well, she's too. She actually her handle is Caitlin's are reading because it's her, Caitlin S and Caitlin R. They're sisters-in-law. So her sister-in-law, Caitlin, who lives in a different county, is the one who mainly gets the arcs and runs the
Okay,
bookstagram.
so that wouldn't have appeared in your Goodwill then.
Yeah. Anyway, I got an arc of Wild Card by Marie Lu, which was really
Dang,
cool.
yeah, snap that up.
Yeah. I wonder if it's
Wow.
signed. I always check if it's signed because I was so surprised. I got a signed copy of Fault in Our Stars at Goodwill. So yeah, I
Dude,
got.
like, where's your Goodwill? Don't
It's.
actually
I
give
mean,
away
I
your
don't know.
location, but like,
Yeah, no, no, it was just weird. Sometimes they have random different stuff. And then I got this one. It's called Give the Dark My Love.
yeah.
I have heard a little bit about this one. I requested, this was like one of the first Penguin Teen books I requested, and they didn't give it to me. So I was like, I'll take
No.
it now because it's mine now and you have no choice. And
Right.
then this one is Everlist by Sarah Holland. I've also heard not great things about this one. But I was like, it's a Harper teen arc. It'd be cool to have it on my shelf. So
It had a great concept. Just the main character was so freaking dumb. I just couldn't handle her. They actually reminded me that I got book mail today.
Oh, book mail.
Yeah, I think this is actually one that I did buy though. My friend is like super into getting signed copies of books, and she keeps me updated on like where to go. Yep. It is Fable. Have you heard of this one yet?
Oh, by Adrian Young, right?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
I normally don't buy books that I haven't read it yet. But
I have
like
a manuscript by Adrian Young.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I won
cool.
it in a giveaway, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and it came with a little print.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. And it's signed by the author.
I don't like
just
to
something
buy
about it. It's so pretty.
books at full price because again, I'm cheap and it's just
Yeah.
It's so much because like oh my gosh, I hate shopping at Barnes and Nobles because it's like up to $20 for a book and sometimes more.
It just makes me sad sometimes. I'm like looking at all these shelves and I'm like, I'm never going to read all of these. There could be the perfect book out there and I will never have read it because like the statistics.
It is depressing. Yeah. I just like I remember when I was like I think maybe 12, I just sat for like 2 minutes thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die before I get to read every book in existence. And that made me so sad. But then I was like, and then I thought, well, maybe there are gonna be books, hopefully there will be all of those books in heaven. Who knows? But if they are, I'll just have eternity to read them.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be my heaven, like a library, bookshop, cafe, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, Fuzzy Dan asked, we see Miranda's wall of books. Where are yours, Tucker? So I am in, it's like
you want to see a wall of books. Oh,
I don't even
you're
know.
not in your room.
No, I'm not in my bedroom because my bedroom is all the way in the back of the house and the Wi-Fi back there is really bad. So if I went back there, I would probably freeze. So I'm not going to go back there.
But let me assure you, it's like an entire wall. And so like my books, I don't know if you can tell, they're organized by color and aesthetics purely. And his are actually organized the librarian way by like author name, right?
Yeah, last name
of the author.
I used to do color and it was really pretty, but I couldn't. Maybe if I had all standalones, maybe I could do that, but I don't. And it would drive me crazy if book 1 was all the way in the top and then book 2 was all the way down in the bottom.
Yeah, like right now, like my other bookshelves, like I kind of have them somewhat by size. And then I have all of my arcs, so all of my advanced readers copies organized purely by color. Because those ones, I typically don't reread an arc unless it's like a book that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. I think there's only one arc that I've reread. The rest of them just kind of hang out on my bookshelf, so I don't really worry too much about the organization there.
I don't really reread books because the only books I've ever reread, I think I reread the Bromance Book Club because it was just so good. And I reread the Stalking Jack the Ripper series and the Harry Potter series. And I think that's it. I think that's all I've reread.
I I mean, yeah, that's the one thing is like I have so many books, but I've reread such few of them. I've got some of my cookbooks. I have like book themed cookbooks that I like to try out, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's another way to immerse myself in the world. I
Mm-hmm.
reread Twilight. I reread The Hobbit, Harry Potter, and Narnia, and
Mm-hmm.
those are the ones that I will typically reread. And the
Mm-hmm.
rest of them, not really. Oh, Little House on the Prairie, which is
Oh
all of
yeah.
my childhood books are the ones I
Me-
reread.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What's it called? The Penderwicks, I think.
Oh,
Have you
I
heard of
read
that
one of
series?
those. I like
I
I never
I
heard of them before, but I picked it
yeah,
up and it was like really cute.
I've not read. I don't remember a single thing other than a character named Sky, and I remember how she stabbed her fork in the table when she was mad, and that's all I remember. Yeah, I don't remember anything else. And I remember listening to it as we were pulling through the drive-through in
Yeah.
our library. That reminds me. Did I tell you that I tried to drive through a drive-through and it didn't go well?
What happened?
I think I told you, but I'm not sure. Basically, so most drive-throughs are kind of like a slow curve, but it was like a direct, basically a corner, but I couldn't like kind of widely go around it because it was a single lane about the size of my car. So as I tried to go around it, I got stuck on the curb and I couldn't back up because there was a person literally like maybe 6 inches behind me. So I pulled forward, and that was a very bad idea because I almost hit the little voice box you speak to order. It was terrifying. I was like, I'm gonna kill someone at this point because I'm gonna run into someone.
That's a
But it
little
was
spooky.
fine. The person kind of backed up a little, so I inched off the curb and I got up to the drive-through. I actually was going to the drive-through because my brother was submitting an application to the place, and they
Through
had their
the
doors.
drive-through?
Well, their doors were locked. Like he couldn't get in because like the actual place was
Oh,
closed.
it wasn't like an online application?
I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Anyway,
Okay.
he hands them the application. And I was like, okay, it's time to go. So I started to drive away, but the guy was like, okay, will that be all? Okay. Cause I like drove away as he was asking if that was all we needed. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll just die now. It was so embarrassing.
Well, you survived and that's the important thing. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever done drive-through. Whenever we don't go for drive-through very often, but
Hmm.
when we do, I'm in charge of Squamish.
I
Because
mean,
early days, Squamish was like, drive-through people are going to kill us, Mom. I'm going to protect us. And
mm-hmm,
now he's like, oh my gosh, it's pup cup time to like crawl across and
mm-hmm.
like jump out the window to get it.
Yeah. Luna, we take her in the car. She actually she doesn't have any issues with people outside the car
Oh, that's
unless
good.
they get like super close to the car and it's obvious they're like trying to get in or whatever. Or she sees a dog. But other than that, she does fine. Yeah.
So other than people and dogs, she's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
All
Well,
right,
yeah.
so we are at 5:58. Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
introduce next month's, well, actually this month's book?
This month. Oh wow, yeah, we are so late to introducing it. It's
Yeah.
ooh, about halfway. It's fine. It's all good. So it's what's it called? I'll try to find the cover. It's Helter Skelter by I don't know who because I'm very responsible. Let me see.
I would look it up on my phone, but my phone's currently streaming and it's at like
Yeah, it's
15%.
Helter Skelter. No, that's a song. I don't know why it's showing me a song. Okay, it's by Kurt Gentry and Vincent. Don't know how to pronounce his last name. Come on, camera, you can focus. Okay. I will post something on the Plot Thickens Bookstagram, which is instagram.com/the Plot Thickens Book Club. I'll post something there, and I will try to post that hopefully soon. Hopefully.
All right, that sounds great.
Yeah. Oh, there's a comment. If your house was on fire and you could only save one book from your library, which would it be? Oh gosh, that's so hard.
Do I go with my most expensive book or do I go with like my sweetest book?
I would probably go with my most cherished. Oh, that's so hard. Because I could think of.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I would definitely probably choose a signed arc. I feel like because
I
that's
don't
like the
know.
most irreplaceable.
So I do have my fancy books that I absolutely adore. I've got
Mm-hmm.
my Chronicles of Narnia and I've got my Little House on the Prairie, which are like my two of my rarest books also. but they're also like my childhood favorites, and they're probably the ones that are most irreplaceable in that sense, because I also love my illustrated Harry Potters a ton, but like those ones I could just buy again. And all of my books are insured, so I don't have to worry too much about like.
You can insure books.
Well, I did some Googling, and apparently some of the editions I have, like at the time, they were just like, $10, $15. But it's been like 10 years since they've been released, so they've gone up in value by a lot. So we just kind of tacked it on to our insurance, like, just so you know, very big collection of books here, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because like if I was going for most cherished, I don't know what I would go for, but most expensive, I'd probably grab my my signed copy of The Fault in Our Stars, because that would probably sell for a lot. And then
like, I just kind of think like irreplaceable sort of thing. Like if those books get destroyed, I'm not buying another, not at these current prices.
Yeah. And I would just be, honestly, I wouldn't be I'd be sad for all of it, but I wouldn't be as sad about the.
Grab them real fast. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So this would be one of them.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's got like the gold pages. It's also got like, it's really cute with how it's done inside. They're not publishing it anymore.
Oh no.
And then the other one would be My Chronicles of Narnia, if I had to choose two, which I think they're both very carryable. And this one, it has a really old style illustrations in it too.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, I used to use them for my book sculptures, and I looked them up, and I'm like, okay, not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I'm trying. I also have like a really, really, I think it's like either 60s or 30s copy of one of Mark Twain's books.
Oh, I would take that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much it's worth. But yeah, I definitely care more about my arcs, because they're like much more limited copies than obviously there are. I mean,
like the Twilight, there's been Twilight arcs. They go for like hundreds of dollars. It's great.
I've seen arcs of the Hunger Games as high as like $300.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I saw an arc of To Kill a Mockingbird for like $7,000.
I mean, I don't blame them. Like, it's an incredible book. All right.
Yeah.
Hour and 2 now, but we did mention next month's book.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
This way.
Don't forget to subscribe to Tucker's channel and my channel. Links down below.
Okay. Bye. Okay. Come on, button. Work with me. There we go.